welcome to the deep dive. So, Death Stranding 2. On the Beach is coming up fast. June 26th, 2025. Mark that down.
Yeah, feels closer all the time.
It does. So, we thought let's dive back into the incredibly dense and unique world of the first game.
Good plan. There's a lot to unpack.
Exactly. Whether you've walked those landscapes yourself, maybe got confused, or you're just curious about what all the fuss is about, this is basically your quick guide, your way to get up to speed.
We've sorted through, tons of stuff. Gameplay, lore videos, wikis, you name it.
To bring you the really crucial bits, the fascinating stuff, maybe the slightly weird stuff too.
Definitely some weird stuff.
Our mission really is just to pull out the absolute core of this universe, so you walk away actually getting what makes Death Stranding. Death Stranding.
Yeah, precisely. Forget spending 80 hours playing or getting lost in forums. We're aiming for the distilled version, the big picture.
The cataclysm, the people, the big ideas, everything that makes it so memorable.
You got it.
Okay, so let's kick things off right at the start. The big one. The Death Stranding itself. It's a hell of a name. But what actually happened? Was it an explosion? A disease?
Yes.
Something else?
It was a cataclysm, yeah, but maybe not like you'd normally think. Imagine another dimension, the place the dead go.
Okay.
People often picture it like this endless black beach, right? Well, somehow that dimension sort of crashed into ours, or maybe overlapped is a better word.
Overlap, a dimensional entanglement. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like a meteor hitting. It was fundamental reality kind of bleeding together.
So not just a disaster, but something truly alien. What did that look like on the ground? What were the immediate effects?
Well, two massive things happened right away. First, you got BTs, beached things.
Beached things.
These are basically the souls of the dead kind of stuck here in the living world now. They seem to come from that beach place we mentioned.
And they're not friendly ghosts, I take it.
No, definitely not. There's often the sense of like resentment, unfinished business maybe, something keeping them tethered.
Okay, BTs. What was the second thing?
Timefall, rain, but not normal rain. This rain, anything it touches people, cargo, buildings, it rapidly speeds up time for it, ages it, makes it decay, crumble.
So rain makes you old, or makes things fall apart.
Pretty much, yeah. Even getting caught in a short shower is like a serious problem.
So you've got angry ghosts and acid rain, basically. But worse.
Kind of, yeah. And the BTs, they weren't just spooky. They were dangerous in another way, too. Connected to, void outs.
Void outs, right? I remember those huge explosions.
Massive. Catastrophic, really. What happens is if living matter touches dead matter specifically, if a BT consumes a living person, boom.
No, it's a big bang.
Big bang and then nothing. It leaves a massive crater. Like the area's just been erased from existence. It's not a normal explosion. It's like, annihilation. Two realities clashing and just canceling each other out.
Wow. Okay. City leveling consequences from touching a ghost. So the world people knew, just gone. How did anyone survive? Where did they even go?
Well, a lot of humanity retreated, went underground into these fortified cities called knots.
Right. So
they offered some protection, from the timefall, from the BTs. But you also had people scattered out on the surface, too. Preppers, isolated communities, that sort of thing.
So a totally fragmented society.
Completely. Though there was this push to kind of pull things back together, rebrand as the United Cities of America, UCA,
trying to rebuild underground. But day-to-day life must have been impossible. Getting supplies, communication. You couldn't just Amazon Prime things anymore.
Absolutely not. Forget Amazon, forget highways, trains. Most of the old infrastructure was wrecked or just too dangerous to use.
So how did anything get anywhere?
That's where the porters came in. These incredibly brave, or maybe crazy individuals. Independent delivery guys, basically.
Just walking across this ruined landscape.
Yeah. On foot, carrying massive loads of supplies, medicine, data, whatever needed, moving between these isolated knots and settlements. They became the absolute lifeline, the only connection for many people.
The ultimate delivery job from hell.
Oof.
Well, okay, dealing with BTs.
Yeah.
So I had help with that, right? The bridge babies, the BBs.
Yeah.
That was unsettling.
BBs were definitely one of the more striking aspects. So these are premature babies, infants, usually taken from mothers who were brain dead, kept alive in these pods, artificial wombs.
Okay. Why?
Because they have this unique connection. They're sort of halfway between the world of the living and the world of the dead. The beach.
So they can sense the BTs.
Exactly. They act like little BT detectors for the porters. Plug the pod into your suit, and the BB can alert you to nearby BTs, which are normally invisible.
Living ghost detectors.
Yeah.
Born from brain-dead mothers. That's grim.
It is. It's ethically complex, to say the least.
Yeah.
But in that world, they were seen as vital tools for survival.
Desperate times, I guess. And there were other people with strange abilities, too, weren't there? Something called dooms.
Right, dooms. Yeah. These are people who have some kind of inherent connection to the other side, to the beach, because of the Death Stranding.
Like the beach.
Sort of, but it manifests differently. It's a spectrum. Some people with dooms might just get, like, a weird feeling when BTs are near. Maybe bad dreams.
Okay.
Others have much stronger abilities. They might be able to actually see BTs or control them, or even, well, some seem to be quasi-immortal. They can come back from death if their body isn't destroyed.
Whoa. From just a bad feeling to actual superpowers and immortality.
Pretty much. Seems to depend on the person. A real lottery.
Okay, so you have this broken world, underground cities, essential delivery guys, ghost-detecting babies, and people with supernatural powers. How did the UCA plan to actually fix things, to reconnect everyone?
The big plan came from the president, Bridget Strand. It was called the Bridges Project.
Bridges. Makes sense.
And the core idea was to use something called chiral energy.
Chiral energy.
Yeah, it's this weird substance, almost like particles or radiation that, well, it's exuded by things after they die, especially BTs. It's a direct result of the Death Stranding messing with reality.
So energy from dead things.
Essentially, yeah. And the plan was to harness this energy, use existing tech, and build a brand new communication network across the country.
Using death energy to power the internet.
Kind of. It's called the chiral network. Think of it like a super advanced internet, but it doesn't rely on physical cables running everywhere.
How does it work then?
It uses chiralium, that's the refined energy, as a medium, allows instant communication, data transfer over huge distances, but you need to activate it locally.
Activate it how?
You need the right hardware in place, like terminals, printers, and then you need a Cupid.
Cupid.
Like a key. Sort of like a chiral USB stick, yeah. You plug it into the terminal at a location, it syncs up with the chiral background noise, I guess, and boom, that location joins the network.
So, not laying fiber optic, but activating nodes in some kind of death energy field. Wild. Who was actually doing this activating? Someone had to carry those Cupids around.
That was mainly down to President Strand's daughter, Amelie.
Amelie. Oh.
She led this expedition, basically, traveling east to west across America, city by city, settlement by settlement, with a team, setting up the terminals, plugging in the Cupids, bringing places online one by one.
That sounds incredibly dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Walking across BT country to turn on the Wi-Fi.
It was a massive, dangerous undertaking. Yeah. And it didn't exactly go smoothly.
Figure. What happened?
Well, not everyone wanted America reconnected. There was this group, Homo Demons, means madman, basically.
The Demons.
Pretty much. Led by this guy, Higgs, very charismatic, very dangerous, wears this golden skull mask.
The brakes.
They believed humanity was doomed, that reconnection was pointless, maybe even wrong. They actively tried to sabotage the Bridges Project, attacked settlements, caused trouble, and eventually they kidnapped Amelie.
Kidnap the key person setting up the network. Okay, standard villain stuff, but with a chiral twist.
Exactly. They saw her as crucial to their own plans, whatever those were, probably involved more void outs.
Right. So, caught in the middle of all this is Sam Porter Bridges. He's our main guy. Where does he start?
Sam starts out, well, he used to work for Bridges, the organization, but he left. He's an independent porter now, a loner, doesn't like being touched, doesn't like relying on people.
Okay. Typical reluctant hero type.
Sort of. His first real involvement back isn't heroic, it's just a job, a grim one. He's hired to transport a corpse out of Central Knot City for incineration, standard procedure to prevent it going necro and causing a void out.
Right. Gotta burn the bodies?
Yeah. But things go wrong. BT encounter, massive void out. The city is destroyed. Sam gets caught in it.
But he survives because of dooms.
Exactly. He has dooms, mid-level maybe, enough that he can repatriate, come back to his body after dying as long as the body's intact. So he wakes up after the void out.
Okay, rough start back. What pulls him into the bigger picture, the Reconnecting America plan?
Well, after that, he ends up in Capital Knot City, the UCA capital, and he's asked, more like ordered, to deliver medicine to President Bridget Strand. She's dying.
The president he used to work for. The one with the big plan.
Right. And it's during this meeting on her deathbed that the big reveal happens. Bridget Strand is Sam's mother, estranged mother.
Whoa, okay. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. And her dying wish, her plea to him, is to take up her cause, rejoin Bridges, finish the job she started, reconnect America.
The dying mother, the estranged son, the fate of the nation. Quite the setup.
And there's more baggage.
Yeah.
Literally, he's tasked with taking his mother's body for incineration, too. A&D, remember that BB from the Void Out truck?
The bridge baby, yeah.
He ends up responsible for it. They retrieve it. But when the time comes to incinerate it, along with other contaminated stuff, Sam can't do it. He disconnects the pod, keeps the BB, names it Lou.
He saves the baby, even though it's technically equipment.
Yeah. It's a turning point for him. He forms this bond, survives another BT attack with Lou, and after all that, he finally, reluctantly agrees. He'll take on his mother's mission.
So he goes from loner delivery guy to reluctant dad carrying his dead mom across the country to plug in the internet, basically.
That's a pretty accurate summary, yeah. His main task becomes carrying those Cupids traveling west, bringing settlement after settlement online.
And dealing with homo demons and BTs and timefall.
And his own issues. He has aphanphasmophobia,
Which is
fear of being touched, fear of intimacy, connection. So this whole journey, especially his connection with Lou, becomes about him overcoming that trauma, learning to connect again.
So it's not just about connecting cities, it's about him reconnecting personally.
Exactly. That's the heart of it.
Okay, let's talk more about these key players. We mentioned Amelie, Bridget, Higgs. Amelie and Bridget. You said they were mother and daughter, but it's more complicated?
Much more. So Bridget is the physical president in the living world. Amelie is her ka, her spirit or soul, residing mostly on the beach.
The beach, that dimension of the dead.
Right. Amelie is trapped there, in a way. But she's also something else. She's an extinction entity.
A what now?
An EE. I mean, destined basically to cause the next extinction event, the last stranding, the end of all life.
Okay, so the president's daughter soul is also destined to end the world.
Yes. Her initial goal, driven by her isolation on the beach, is actually to bring about that extinction, to merge the beach with the living world. End all separation, end all suffering, by ending everything.
That's dark. What changes?
Sam. His journey, his empathy, seeing humanity's will to survive and connect despite everything, it reaches her. It changes her mind. Ultimately, she chooses not to trigger the last stranding. She helps sever the link instead.
So she goes from symbol of extinction to hope because of Sam.
In a way, yes. She represents that deep loneliness, but also becomes the goal, the reason Sam pushes forward.
Wow. Okay. And Higgs, the masked villain working for her, kind of?
Higgs is, well, he's the opposite extreme, almost. He embraces the isolation, uses the strange new reality for power. He has really strong dooms, teleportation, controlling BTs, summoning timefall.
Nasty piece of work.
Absolutely. He wants America to stay broken, wants to accelerate the end. He's basically Amelie's agent of chaos, doing her dirty work while she's manipulating things from the beach.
But there's more to him too, right? Something about Peter Engler.
Yeah, that's a late game reveal. Higgs is Peter Engler, this pizza-loving prepper Sam delivers to occasionally. It shows this hidden side, maybe a desire for simple connection, but twisted by fear and resentment. Losing his dooms at the end is like losing his entire identity, his power derived from the stranding.
Even the bad guy is tangled up in this connection theme.
Yeah.
What about Fragile? She seemed important.
Fragile is great. Another courier runs her own company, Fragile Express. She has dooms too, allowing her to teleport through the beach. But her past is tied to Higgs.
How so?
He tricked her, forced her to carry a nuke into a city knowing it would detonate. To save the city, she had to run through extreme timefall, which aged her body horribly everywhere except where her skin was covered.
Oh man, that's brutal.
But she survived. It shows her resilience. She's scarred but not broken. She still believes in connecting people, just on her own terms. She ends up being a key ally for Sam and Bridges.
Resilience is definitely a theme. Okay, the big mystery. Cliff Unger, the soldier in the flashbacks.
Cliff, yeah. He haunts Sam's journey, appearing in these war zone nightmares triggered by Lou, the BB.
Always looking for his BB.
Exactly. Long story short, Cliff Unger is Lou's biological father, and Sam's biological father, too.
Wait, what? Sam is Cliff's son and Lou's
Brother. Sort of. Cliff and his wife Lisa had Sam, but Sam was intended to be the original bridge baby, a bridge between life and death. Bridget Strand was involved in these unethical experiments. Things went wrong. Bridget shot Cliff.
Bridget shot Sam's father.
Yes. To cover things up, seized the baby project. Cliff died, but his spirit became trapped as this incredibly powerful BT, forever searching the beaches and battlefields for his BB, who he thinks is Lou, but is really Sam.
So those nightmares Sam has.
Are Clift's memories bleeding through via the BB connection because Sam was the first BB? And Bridget, feeling guilty, raised Sam herself, partly on the beach, which is why Sam has dooms.
My head hurts. That's incredibly tangled.
It is. It's a tragic family drama wrapped in sci-fi horror.
Okay. What about Die Hardman, Sam's boss?
Die Hardman. Sam's commander at Bridges. Seems like a solid, if stern, leader. But he has a secret. He was the soldier, John Blake McClane, actually, who physically pulled the trigger on Cliff under Bridget's order.
Oh, wow. Everyone's connected. Everyone has secrets.
Pretty much. But Die Hardman carries that guilt. He eventually becomes the new UCA president after Bridget, genuinely committed to connecting America, maybe as a way to atone.
Trying to build the future, his past actions almost destroyed.
Mm.
And finally, Lou, the BB.
Lou, or Louise, as Sam eventually names her. She starts as just a piece of equipment, right? A tool.
Yeah, the ghost detector.
But through the journey, through Sam protecting her, relying on her, she becomes his anchor, his connection, his adopted daughter, really. Saving her, choosing her life over her function, is Sam reclaiming his own humanity.
And her surviving at the end. It means something more.
Yeah, her survival, living outside the pods, signifies that the worst of the Death Stranding is over. That connection, real human connection, won.
Okay, so bringing it all together.
Yeah.
The core themes, connection versus isolation, is obviously huge.
Absolutely central. That's Kojima's big message, you know.
Right.
The chiral network is the symbol of connection, trying to overcome the isolation, but the BTs, the timefall, they represent the consequences of being cut off, of loneliness, of, well, death invading life.
And life and death itself is a theme, right? The lines are totally blurred.
Completely. The beach is the key concept there. This place between worlds that's now actively interacting with ours. It forces you to question what alive and dead even mean anymore.
And despite all that darkness, there's resilience.
Definitely. Human resilience. People finding ways to survive, to help each other, to rebuild, even in this nightmare world. Porters, not cities, fragile Sam himself. It's about enduring.
It's strangely hopeful, in a way.
I think so.
And the gameplay itself leaned into this. It wasn't just shooting or sneaking.
Not at all. The gameplay is the message in many ways. Take the social strand system.
Right, where you see things other players built.
Exactly. Ladders, bridges, generators, signs warning of danger. You never see other players directly, but you're constantly interacting with their ghosts, their contributions. You're helping people you'll never meet, and they're helping you.
Connection, even when alone.
Precisely. And just moving around, the sheer difficulty of traversal, planning your route, managing your cargo, it makes you feel the weight of the task, the effort required to connect places.
Yeah, walking could be intense.
And building bridges, literally building bridges over rivers and chasms. It's both practical gameplay and a direct metaphor for the whole point of the game, reconnecting the world piece by piece.
Gameplay is narrative. Very cool. So how did the first game wrap up? What was the final resolution?
Well, Sam confronts Amelie on her beach. She's ready to initiate the last stranding.
And the world.
Yeah. But Sam doesn't fight her, not really. He talks to her, offers connection, empathy, shows her what humanity is still capable of. He convinces her not to do it.
He chooses connection over oblivion.
Exactly. And then he makes that final choice with Lou disconnecting her from the network, taking her out of the pod, essentially freeing her, choosing her life. It's him fully embracing that connection.
And Amelie.
She chooses to cut herself off completely from the living world, going into total isolation on the beach to prevent the extinction forever. It stops the timefall, stops the immediate crisis. The Death Stranding, as they knew it, ends.
Wow.
Yeah.
A bittersweet victory, maybe. She saves the world but is alone forever.
Something like that. But life can go on.
Okay. Which brings us neatly to Death Stranding 2. On the beach, June 26, 2025. Early access, June 24th for pre-orders, I think?
Sounds right. Yeah.
What do we know? What are the hints?
Well, the trailers look bigger, wider scope. There are hints of maybe even space travel, or at least huge new territories.
Okay, that's a jump.
Could be metaphorical, could be literal. Kojima things. We know Sam is back, looking older. Fragile is back, seemingly working with a new organization called Drawbridge.
Drawbridge. Oh.
We've seen new characters. Someone called Tomorrow, a puppet, another character named Rainy. Lots of questions. The themes seem to revolve around legacy, what happens after the first game's ending, and maybe questioning if connection is always the right answer, or if it brings new dangers.
Interesting. Expanding on the themes, maybe challenging them.
Seems likely, and still exploring life, death, and whatever lies beyond. On the Beach is right there in the title, after all.
True. Well, this has been Yeah, a really great deep dive. It makes you appreciate just how layered that first game was.
Yeah.
Bizarre, complex, but ultimately very human.
It really is. All built around that core idea. Connection matters, hope matters, even when things seem impossibly broken.
Yeah, it's a potent message, especially as we look towards the sequel.
Definitely. It makes you wonder how they'll build on it.
So, as we wrap up, maybe something to think about for you listening.
Mm.
How does that need for connection show up in our world? Without the BTs and timefall, thankfully.
Mhm.
What strands are you building or maybe neglecting? Just some food for thought.
Good question.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Death Stranding.
Yeah, thanks for listening.